Energy bills are going to go up this autumn. Not great news, it has to be said. A typical household's yearly energy bill will rise by about £149 in October under the new price cap. People using an average amount of gas and electricity will pay about 10% more. So it's time again to look at how to save cash on our energy at home. A local charity called Groundwork 5 Counties is here to help. Now, they essentially are funded in large part by the energy companies themselves to enable them to give advice to us, the consumers, about how to use less energy. Mike Blackham works with Groundwork 5 Counties and joins us now. Mike, hi.
Hiya.
What's the top advice then for enabling people to essentially spend less?
So one of the key things is, first off, understanding how your heating system works and making sure you've got the settings set correctly to make it as efficient as possible. 70% of our actual energy usage is done on heating the home and heating hot water.
Okay, so we're a long way into this now, aren't we? What can we do then to fine-tune our if we've got, a wet central heating system or whatever? How do we do that to make sure we're getting it as the most efficient?
So having it come on when you want the heating on, which sounds like a very obvious thing to do, but a lot of people run off their thermostat only. So they turn it up when they want more heat and turn it down, whereas using your programmer correctly can really help sort of fine-tune your heating system timings, so it's not on heating a house when you're out or anything like that. Now, there are also other things you can do with regards to balancing the heat within the house, which is using your radiator valves to make sure you've got the heat going to the rooms that you want it most.
So it's essentially, which makes sense, doesn't it? Because if you have a spare room, you can find yourself heating that. You probably don't need to. But and there was this whole business about what the temperature the boiler runs at. Is that still an issue?
That is still a thing, but it depends on so many factors. So like the type of construction of your house. If you've got an older house, it needs more heat to fight off the cold that is leaking into the house, if you like, or your heat that's escaping because there's no insulation. So it's balancing that and understanding that. And a lot of what we do when we go out and talk to people is actually helping them understand how the heating system works, because you're never given an instruction manual for your heating.
Look, and we're not all heating engineers, are we? That's the basic truth of it. So so do you give out, is there stuff online that you provide that gives us a kind of this is what you need to go and do?
Well, what we do is we actually come out and do home visits for individuals. We'll come out, have a chat, see your heating system, see where you've had issues with condensation or mold even, or you've got other problems that you're struggling to heat this room, or you have problems with this, that, and the other. We can see all that and obviously give you advice on your individual heating system, because we can see it all and set things up for you and make it so it's running as efficiently as possible. Obviously, we can't sort of do boiler checks or anything like that, but we can set the actual controls correctly.
It is a bit of a fine line, isn't it? I mean, it's interesting you raised the whole issue about mould. And I know from speaking to a friend, she turned her heating way, way, way down for the winter and turned it off wherever she didn't need it, in a hall and all the rest of it, and got mould popping up in places she'd never had before. So there's a kind of a sweet spot where you're putting enough heat in that you're more or less comfortable, but also the house is comfortable.
It is, and there's so many factors that you've got to balance when you're talking about condensation, mold growth. So you've got to make sure that your surface temperatures are warm enough, because if they get below a certain point, then that's where the moisture turns back into condensation on those surfaces. So having the air temperature is one thing, but also you've got to have the surface temperatures, which obviously can be affected by the levels of insulation you've got, the external temperatures, and this. So there's a huge balancing act going on. And in my own house, I noticed that it's actually sort of half a degree was that sweet spot. So it was, I think it was 18.5. That was actually having issues in one of the rooms. Went to 19, stopped.
That's astonishing, isn't it? So how does this work then? Because, inviting people into your house is a bit of a scary thing to do at the best of times. Can people do it just over the phone as well?
We can do phone visits. So we can do phone consultations and have a chat with people and go through the ins and outs of sort of like the not necessarily generic advice, but more general advice. And then if someone is happy, we can then go out and sort of do the fine tuning. But we also install low cost energy saving measures such as LED light bulbs, traffic excluders, radiator foils, things like that. So we can do those sort of on a secondary visit if people want that, or if they don't want that, they just want the advice, we can do that.
So so I was going to say that apart from fine tuning your central heating system, there are other for want of a better phrase, low hanging fruit, aren't there? Of things that you can make now. LED lights, I know that they make a significant difference, but they're also not cheap to buy in the first place, are they?
They're not, no. So each bulb, roughly, if you're going from sort of the old incandescent ones and changing over to an LED bulb, you're going to save sort of £5 to £6 a year per bulb. And that's for each year you then have that bulb. So you can have quite a big saving within the last sort of 10, 12 years.
And is that what the projected life of an LED bulb is?
Thereabouts. Some of them project even longer. It's on hourly usage. So it depends on how often you use your light as to how much you're going to save and how quickly it's going to wear out to a certain extent. But yeah, you get a good usage on them. And yes, they do cost £3, £4, maybe £5 a bulb, depending on which type it is. But we install those free of charge.
I've got to say, I've gone through my house and replaced with LEDs, sort of warm white LED lights, which seem to throw out the same light as the old incandescent ones, mainly because I spend most of my time shouting at people in the house, will you please switch lights off?
That's another thing, yeah.
It's like, please, just the house is like, it's lit up like, I don't know, Blackpool Tower. Give us just a final thing of something that people can do quickly and easily that will save them a bit of money.
So one of the things that's easy to do is your behaviours. They don't cost any money to do. It's just how you do things. So if you do have your heating on, drop the thermostat down a little bit. Don't have it above 21. Obviously, if there's health reasons why you're having to have it at 21, that's great. But where possible, try and get to sort of 18, 19 degrees. Put another layer on is an obvious one. But shower times, that's a big one that people don't notice. If you've got electric shower, you're going to be using a lot of energy when you're showering. So if you're sitting there singing a couple of songs whilst you listen to the radio, cut that down. Just get in there, do the job, get out.
There is the top tip of the day. Get into the shower, do the job, get out. Mike, thank you ever so much for coming on. If people want to find out more information, Groundwork 5 Counties is where they will find you online. Thank you.
No problem.